Welcome back. Congratulations on compiling the arrays exercise. Now let's review this exercise step by step. The basic requirement of this exercise is to send the 7 different aspect ratio commands to the Epson projector. To find these commands, I'll open up our Epson interface document, scroll down to the command control section, and the second command down is what we're looking for. The command is very easy. Aspect, hyphen, and then one of the 7 listed here. Make a note of the 7 different options. I'll close out of this document and I'll open up my touch panel file. The next requirement was to build the 7 new buttons, so I'll go to my projector pop-up page. I'm going to fly through this. I'll create 7 buttons and arrange them on the right side of my page. Now I'll label them according to the available aspect ratios. I'll then go to the Programming tab, ensure they are all set to channel feedback, and I'll assign the channel information. We're going to use channel port 6 because that is the port number we used for the other projector buttons. And according to the exercise requirements, I'll assign channel codes 101 through 107. That's it. Save your file and shut down TP Design. As always, before I begin writing code, I'm going to shut down any source code I may have open, and then I'll open up my P1 exercises source code file. Let's start with the easiest part first, the button number array. As instructed, we go to the Define Variable section of code. Because we're going to initialize the array directly after we define it, the best persistence modifier is volatile. Since we are just storing button numbers, an integer is the best choice for the data type. Now we give it an appropriate name. I'll use nproj aspect buttons. We need an empty pair of brackets for a one-dimensional array. Next, our gets operator. Now we place the aspect ratio buttons 101 through 107 into a pair of braces to set the values of each element of the array. The next step was to create an array of the commands from the interface document. Let's go back into the interface document. Check the list of commands to see what the length of the longest command is so that we can set the size of the columns dimension in our array. Looks like aspect-aspect 16_9 is the longest with 17 characters. Let's jump back into the Define Variable section of code and create an array to store the commands. Since we're going to initialize the array where it's being defined, the persistence should be volatile. Remember that even though volatile variables do lose their value during a reboot, it doesn't matter because the values are automatically read back into the array when the code is loaded back into the master when it comes back online after a reboot. Next, since we're storing an array of characters, we use the data type char. Let's use a logical name. I will call it lowercase s for string, proj aspect commands. Now we can create a pair of brackets for the rows dimension. Since we may add more commands in the future, we'll leave this blank. Therefore, it will automatically take on the value of however many strings I have in the array, in this case 7, and then we will need a second set of brackets for the columns with size 17. This is for the length of the longest string in the array. Next is the gets operator and a pair of braces to enclose the dataset. List all 7 of the commands inside the braces with a comma separating each one. Here's a quick tip for you. Since all the commands start with the word aspect dash, just type that once and copy and paste it 6 times to create 7 commands. Now just type in the rest of the text for each command like this. Aspect-normal, aspect-aspect 16_9, aspect-auto, aspect-aspect 4_3, aspect-full, aspect-zoom, aspect-native. Okay, step 3 is done. All that's left is to write the button event. Scroll down through the Define Event section. Notice anything? We already have a button event using channel 0 for our projector buttons that are addressed as port 6. The whole point of this particular exercise is to use button arrays for more concise coding. So what should we do? Well, if we're following best coding practices, we should change this channel 0 to a new button array. Let's quickly do that. I'll go back up to define variable and create one more button array. It will be a volatile integer and we'll name it nprojLiftButtons. Inside the array, I'll list the button channel numbers this event will be handling. The power on and power off buttons were 27 and 28, and the lift up and lift down buttons were 601 and 602. Now I'll just copy this button array, scroll back down to that button event, and paste it over the channel 0. That's all there is to it. Let's continue on with our exercise. I'll scroll down some more. I'll keep all my projector stuff together, so just below the channel event for the projector, I'll build my new button event. The devchan to pass in is the projector touch panel and nprojAspectButtons. Inside the push handler, all we have to do is a single send command for the index of the button that was pressed. So we start with send _ command. Why are we sending a command and not a string? Remember, we are using a module to control this projector. Therefore, we send a command to a module. If we didn't have a module and we knew how to format the raw string going to the projector, we would use the send string keyword instead. We'll learn more about strings and commands in an upcoming tutorial. Next is the device we are sending the command to, VDV projector. Then open a set of double quotes. Inside these quotes is where we need to put the commands for the aspect ratio we wish to send. That array is sprojAspectCommands. Now we need to choose which one of the commands will get sent. Open up a set of square brackets. If we were to put a 2 inside here, then every time someone pressed any of the aspect ratio buttons, the second aspect ratio command that is in the list would be sent. If you put a 6 in there, the 6th command in the list would be sent. That's obviously not the desired result. We need to send the command for the proper button that gets pressed. GetLast is the perfect tool to do this. Simply put getLast, open parentheses, nprojAspectButtons, close parentheses. Now if you press any of these buttons, the getLast keyword will return the position in the array. For example, if you press button 105 on the touch panel, which happens to be the full aspect ratio, the getLast keyword says the button 105 is the 5th position in the array. Therefore, it will send out the 5th command in the list of aspect ratio commands. One more quick thing before we move on. We haven't discussed feedback for these buttons. Now, I know it wasn't a requirement in the exercise, but I'll add it in. Ideally, we would get a response from the projector confirming it received the command, and we would base our feedback off that. Since we haven't learned about passing incoming strings from a device yet, we are just going to fake the feedback, so at least the buttons will change states when the command is sent. I'll simply add a to command, and the devchan is dvtp_projector, button.input.channel. That's it. As you can see, this really makes for clean, readable, and maintainable code. Make sure you are able to compile your code without any errors. Congratulations! It's time to move on to our next lesson. Close this exercise source code file and get ready to learn all about timelines.